Hey, welcome back to the Converging Paths podcast. I'm your host, Eric Elnes, and I am once again joined by my two interfaith amigos, Zen Buddhist teacher Esther Freinkel-Tishman.
Hello, glad to be here.
And Rabbi Brian Mayer.
Hello.
Today, we are talking about, we're continuing our series on the 7 deadly sins and 7 lively virtues. And today's topic is sloth versus hope. This episode may surprise you. Sloth isn't necessarily what you think it is. If sloth were simply about laziness, then Americans would be about like the least slothful people on earth. By most every labor metric there is, we Americans work harder than most any industrialized nation on earth. We're the only wealthy nation that has no federally guaranteed paid vacation. Most of us think we actually don't get much vacation to begin with. And many of us don't use that little vacation time that we're given by the end of the year. About a third of us, too, we don't take lunch breaks. We eat lunch right where we're working, and many never leave the office or wherever they're working throughout the entire day of their work. By most any honest measure, we are very, very busy people. But here's the part that should stop us short. When you add it all up, vacation, holidays, shorter work weeks, workers in several European countries effectively get about 10 more weeks of time off than we do. They get 10 more weeks of their life back. That's the difference between watching your children grow up and mostly just hearing about it at the dinner table. So by appearances, this doesn't look like sloth. It looks like productivity. It looks like commitment. It even looks to some like virtue. And yet, when a society is always working, always rushing, always occupied, and still feels anxious, exhausted, and spiritually thin, it raises a deeper question. What if sloth isn't about doing nothing, but about never having the time or the courage to tend to what actually matters?
Wow.
This is Converging Paths today.
Oh, I love that. Love that reframing.
Well, let's jump right in.
I'm going to start with Henry David Thoreau, who said, "It is not enough to be busy, so are the ants. The question is, what are we busy about?"
Oh, I love that.
Oh, that's great.
We take pride.
Yep.
It seems to be whoever's the busiest at the dinner table wins.
Oh, yeah.
What are they winning?
And get a few clergy together.
Yeah.
It's like we're always bragging about, I just have no time. I can't make this meeting. It is truly a source of pride.
I'm just thinking clergy are the folks who actually work on the Sabbath, right?
Yes.
I always hated that. I was like, what am I doing here?
I actually, in preparation for this, I made a top 10 list. I think actually America, sloth is it may just be our most challenging of the 7 deadly sins. And by the way, I just want to reiterate, as we've reiterated in the past, I don't define sin as so much morally. Really, I see it as burden, and the virtues as how we get free of burden. That's how I see that. But this idea of endless activity without actually doing something that matters inside us. Here's some examples. See if you see these two. Endless digital distraction, performative productivity. That's those endless emails, the endless meetings. All those. I'm so busy. Aren't I important? Another is binge entertainment. Another, excessive news consumption without local action.
Yeah. So you're making a distinction here then between sort of the activity and the content or substance that it might be serving. This is, I think, the conundrum, the spiritual sharpness of what sloth is about, is that, we live in a world of means and ends, like I'm doing something for something else. And there's something about that whole setup that is like fraught with difficulty. Like, how do I know that the end that I'm pursuing is valuable? How do I even know that it's my end? How do I know that what I'm working so hard for really is what I want? And so, like, the idea of the right kind of activity, or what in Buddhism we might call rightful effort, like how I do that. If I am not spending enough time in discernment about what my values and goals are, then, it's easy to spend 20 years working a job, working really hard, advancing in the job, and then come to the end of it. It's like, what was that all about? My life I didn't live my life.
Right. Yeah, exactly. I find, I do a lot of counseling in my profession, as I'm sure you guys do too. And I've found, like, certainly with an older generation, there was that ideal, of endless kind of working. And then it's always like, well, when I retire, I'll do what I really want to do. And I'll put off this joy until I retire. But by the time they get to retirement, they actually are so used to pushing aside what's actually been important to them that they, like, I don't know what I want. I don't know who I am. I've been too busy serving others and serving the corporation, or and trying to put food on the table and so forth. Like, who am I really? What do I want? The Apostle Paul, he's writing this letter to the church in Thessalonica, and he talks about these people that are just, they're lazy and they're slothful, and he says, but then he says, they're mere busybodies. That's what really tripped me up. Like, wait a minute, sloth is not simply about doing nothing. It's actually about doing nothing. That what he was getting at was they're doing nothing that's important. That's important to their actually gaining fullness of life.
I love that, because within Buddhism, probably the closest analog to a sustained discussion of what gets glossed as sloth is in the context of hindrances for meditation, the hindrances for that kind of centered stillness practice, which in itself, that is, meditation is Sabbath in Buddhism, right? It's like really the practice of non-urgency, the practice of non-reactivity, the practice of not trying to leverage the world for my gain and your loss. And so it's one of the 5 hindrances. And the thing is, I'm someone who has spent 25 years now falling asleep while meditating. Like, I am, when I'm meditating, what happens is I fall asleep because I am a busybody, and then I sit still and I fall asleep. And so that's how I understand what sloth is, which is me falling asleep. But I really understand in terms of almost a Freudian notion of what resistance is in psychotherapy. Freud defines resistance as anything that impedes the psychotherapy. Like, it might be that you miss all your appointments, or that you come 10 minutes late, or that, the analyst says something and you say, no, that's not going on at all. It's a very problematic concept because it gives a lot of power to the analyst to name the resistance. But I think that idea that sloth is whatever I experience that pushes me out of spiritual alignment. Then for me, it might be falling asleep when I'm meditating, but it might also be the way I live my life when I'm not meditating, which is running at 1,000 miles an hour.
Mm-hmm.
It's the idea that I have of, I'll just send one more email before I leave.
Yes.
Yeah, which turns into 10, which turns into,
Yeah. As I reflect on my own life, where I've shifted my priorities, trying to get more aligned with my spiritual practice and my spiritual values, et cetera, shifted my priorities a number of times. But I think there's still like this way in which underneath all of my activity is what I might identify as sloth, which is a kind of reluctance to really do the deep dive to see what the ultimate concerns actually are. Because it's scary. Like, maybe if I sat still long enough, I might discover that I have no clue what I'm doing. Like, I really have no clue.
If you sit long enough, you might fall asleep.
Right. Exactly.
I was thinking about adding to your list, Eric, and maybe I missed it, was this strive for perfection.
Yeah.
That the idea of good enough is not enough.
Yeah.
I would definitely add that to the list.
Yeah. I mean, so in American Zen, I'm an American, I'm a Zen practitioner. I can't even say that this is in the tradition, but American Zen, that sort of like Protestant work ethic thing writ into a Zen context is this striving within the spiritual practice. Like, how many hours of zazen or seated meditation have you done? How many silent retreats have you done? Are you sitting hard enough? Are you sitting still enough? And at the same time that that's clearly disordered, there's also a side of it which is like, yeah, the house is on fire. There's a Zen saying of practice as if your hair is on fire. Like, there is spiritual urgency. Like, wake the fuck up. Sorry, can I swear?
You tell me.
Wake up. And so that striving for perfection that you're talking about, it's like, well, I mean, on some level I want to say, well, yeah, bring it on.
I'm fascinated by your comment, Brian, because it didn't make my list, but when I look at my own slothfulness, that's probably what I struggle with.
Is
more
the
than
perfectionist.
yes, and how the perfect becomes the enemy of the good. I mean, even editing these podcasts, like I'm doing the edit, I'm doing the video and the sound editing underneath this. So the parts that suck, they're my fault, okay? But what I could do is spend hours just trying to adjust a certain level, which, would lead to a more perfect podcast, but it will completely then...
So what's the origin of that? Because in myself, I detect fear and anxiety.
Yes. And control, the desire for control, over this. And yes, like, if this isn't perfect, will the listeners, will they reject the podcast? I mean, like that kind of, the fear, yes.
It's enculturated into us. We spend at least 12 years of getting feedback from an authority figure as, did what we do, was it enough to merit an A?
Yeah.
Or did we fail?
Yeah.
Right.
Really are so steeped in this soup that I don't think we taste it anymore.
The sloth would solve the problem
Like
of sloth in a sense. Yeah, the actual sloth. Like, if you just don't care, then you're not going to be the perfectionist. You're not going to be the, that kind of thing. Just you pick your poison then.
I think part of what sloth and even its traditional notion is sort of laziness, what it points to is the importance of like really good emotional self-regulation, like that it is really good to push against our resistances, that's like a good thing. That's civilizing. It's like, conducive of being not just a reactive asshole, but being a good, loving person. And I do think we're living in a time right now where even in the midst of the busyness and the swirling and the activity, there is increasingly an acceptance that you don't have to work so hard in a way that is toxic. Like, just react, just be. I mean, we have authority figures, leaders who demonstrate the complete lacks of having a prefrontal cortex.
So that's a substitute for relationship. Then, if we just react, right? That's an easy. Fills our minds with our brains with dopamine or serotonin or what have you. And that's actually one of the things on my list was, I think, one of the more concerning ones for me is I use social media, and of course podcasting is a form of media itself, but we often create digital substitutes for embodied relationships.
Well,
these days,
because embodied relationships are work.
Yeah.
So let's.
They're messy.
They're messy, and they require the delay of gratification. They talking in our last meeting about like the Buddhist quality of constancy, of steadfastness, the work that goes into a relationship. I don't have to work to relate to my phone. I just pick it up and it just feeds me. Just gives me those nice dopaminergic plugs.
So if you're listening to this podcast, in place of a human relationship, turn it off, have that,
right.
Attend to your spouse or your friend or what have you, then turn it back on.
There you go. And this is the part that I think is really hard for contemporary Americans especially to deal with. There's also the question of like, where does work fit in? And I don't mean just the work that I'm doing to get a paycheck, but where does like dedicated, committed, disciplined effort fit in? And when is that harmful to self? When is that avoidance of the ultimate questions? I'm a very, I just walked across America. I'm like, I kind of push it. And that's something that has been, for me, tied to ways that I avoid stuff, but it's also linked to the parts of me that I think are most seeker-y, most...
I'm glad you mentioned that walk you did, the Liberty Walk that took place, and having been a walker and walked across the country myself too, I totally tuned right into what you were saying there. And I noticed that when I moved from a 65-mile-an-hour lifestyle to a 3-mile-an-hour lifestyle, I could not believe the joy that opened up in me to be walking, because I actually had time to follow up on thoughts in my head. Instead of like, oh, I got to get to the meeting, or I got to do this. Like, oh, I could actually rest with this thought and explore it. It's like, I thought, I never want to go back to this other lifestyle because I'm ignoring so much that's important to me. I'm always saying, oh, that's a really good thought. And then 5 minutes later, it's forgotten because I'm engaged in more busy work.
Yeah.
I take airplanes, so.
You're the smart one.
I hear what you're saying, Eric. It's avoidance.
Yeah.
Stay busy with the minutia so that I don't have to tackle the big questions. I think I'm going to dump all my cards right here. The one thing Rabbi Abraham Joshua Heschel said, more than the Jews have kept the Sabbath has kept the Jews. The idea of taking time off has always been important. Now, some people get militant about the time off that they do, and to me that's a little goofy. But there's this idea that the Sabbath is a set-aside time of non-urgency. It's just a set-aside time. And when I see the lights of the candles that I light on Friday nights, and I light candles Friday nights religiously, and by religiously I mean I'm forgiving of myself when I don't do it. When I light the lights, it's a reminder to me, a weekly reminder. I mean, what could be better than having a weekly reminder to slow down?
Yeah.
I need that reminder.
I do think that you're onto something huge with the Sabbath thing. I really think that, Brian, you're bringing that up, signals to me something about what the tradition has said is kind of the antidote to sloth. But before, the word they use is hope. It's intimately connected. That Sabbath practice is a hope practice. I love that, at least as I understand, and Brian, correct me if I'm wrong, the Jewish understanding, or at least the way I've taken it, is that for one day a week, you should try to live the fullest expression of what like being in heaven would be like. Whatever that would be for you, whether you even believe in a heaven or not. Like, what would like a whole day of heaven look like? And to me, being like, hey, I'm not going to be full of busy work. I'm not going to be working on my my occupation. I'm going to be. I want relationship. I want to be with my spouse. I want to be with friends. And by the way, I want a really good meal. Yeah. And I don't want to have to make it all.
Right.
Although I love to cook. So actually there is certain forms of work I would do. Like actually I would like to open up a glass of wine and spend the afternoon cooking, too. I mean, that is deeply relaxing to me.
Is it fair to say something like, work separates us and the Sabbath reintegrates us? And in some ways, sloth is like avoiding that integration. I come back to the idea that I have from Zen of like sloth is whatever is happening to me when I'm meditating that keeps me from really showing up. So it might be that I'm falling asleep. It might be that, in one of my rare moments on the cushion, my mind is really active rather than really asleep. But either way. And so then, it's an avoidance of integration and avoidance of relationships. And
yeah. So in that way, Sabbath, it would be a form of resistance because the world just keeps trying to tear us apart into all these.
Well, that's super powerful because, like right now, I'm still thinking about last week when we were talking about wrath and kind of touching upon this moment of history. where there's a lot to be outraged about. The world really is trying to pull us apart in so many ways. So how do we, what does resistance look like?
Yeah. And to me, is also resistance is unplugging from the uber capitalist economy too, which Sabbath does, where you're only defined by what what the value you add to the economy. It's like, I can resist that for 6 days a week as long as I can take myself out of that entirely for one. I can put in the good work. I can be busy for 6 days a week, provided I can take one where it's just pure, like really trying to engage in that joyful, sense of life and that integrated sense of life, and attend to those relationships.
Yeah.
But it's what we were talking about slowing down has the detriment of now I have time to think of things that aren't comfortable.
Right. Yeah. Right.
I would rather be busy on that hamster wheel. Oh, I have to tell you, I just heard this. You know the little hamster wheel spins around, and we've always assumed that that's because in the wild, mice and rats and other little rodents run around. So some researchers put hamster wheels in the wild with cameras on them. And would you believe, of course you would, that mice in the wild just enjoy spinning in the hamster wheel?
Seriously.
So we enjoy the spin. Well,
that floors me.
Yeah, we enjoy the spin.
Of course we do.
Yeah, I know I do. I enjoy the spin.
God. Yeah, and I love that. Enjoy the spin. I mean, I enjoy my work. I don't want to just have Sabbath 7 days a week. I do want to get in the fray, and I do want to work hard, and I do want to be spinning on all kinds of different levels too. But I do also need to that one day or that where I pull back and I breathe and I remind myself of why I work, too, and the goals of the work.
If I may, don't try to do an entire day of not working and assume that you're going to do it well.
That's a lot of work to not work. Yeah.
Right.
I think it just starts really, really close in, and then can I just, take a moment every now and then to be with what's here without having to spin it.
Yes.
Can we just talk a little bit about hope again?
Yeah.
Where does hope fit into this again?
To me, that is what we've been talking about with Sabbath, and what Sabbath does for me is if I truly do try to replicate what life in its fullness is like, it reminds me that that actually a bit of that heaven on earth is possible.
Yeah.
And it's possible not only on this day, but if I could actually absorb it on this day, I might be able to take a little bit of Monday and Tuesday and bring a little bit of that Sabbath experience into that day too. So it's not all just drudgery. It's not all just fear and chaos and fighting injustice and so forth, but actually heaven becomes a part of my daily reality, and that gives me hope.
Hope is a tricky thing, right? Emily Dickinson said it's a thing with feathers.
Yeah.
It's there's a hymn, I don't know it very well, but it's Hope's Whisper, that hope is small and delicate, and I need hope right now because I'm scared. And I could use some hope. And I'm reminded of something Viktor Frankl talked about, people in the concentration camps, that no one without hope survived.
Right.
No one without hope survived.
Hope.
Not everyone with hope did. But if you had no hope, you were gone.
Hope is the bigger context, the bigger container. Whatever it is that I'm scared to hold, hope is the sense that I'm held. And
I love that.
That sense of, if I put in 30 years, I will have a good retirement, or that's not the container. We need to be held right here and now.
I have a quote. Get your pens ready to write this one down. It's one of the best quotes.
Yep.
It's from the Baal Shem Tov.
Yeah.
He said, "Let me fall if I must. I have no fear, for the one I am becoming will catch me."
Yeah. If hope is just about a promised reward, even if that's like a spiritual reward, if we're obliterating what's right here and now because we think we're going to get it at the end, we're almost certainly doing damage to ourselves and to the world around us. But if we think that what is at the end is already here within us, the image of God or our Buddha nature, and that it's just emerging, then then we get to take care. We get to be held in that. Yeah.
Oh, that just
Eric,
evoked-
your tradition doesn't do so well on that one.
on
Is that like Gospel of Thomas says that heaven is already here. But there's this idea that if I work and if I do everything right, there's this Christian notion that Judaism doesn't hold, I don't think Buddhism holds, that I will get my reward in the next life.
Well, yeah, and I think that's a corruption within our Christian tradition. And it's not the Gospel of Thomas where in the Gospel of Matthew and Mark, Jesus has this saying that's mistranslated in every translation I've ever seen. And if you go to the Greek, you Greek scholars, you can check me on this. What he's actually saying is the kingdom of heaven is already here. So heaven's already here.
Yeah.
And then the word repent is metanoia. That's a change of thought, a complete change of thought.
Yeah, it's transformation.
So the kingdom of heaven or God is already here. Change your whole way of thinking and believe the good news.
Yes.
Oh,
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah.
So that's
I missed that.
That's what you live when you take a Sabbath.
Yes. Absolutely. You discover that.
Yeah.
And just like you were saying, that long, and both of you were saying, actually, that long run perspective is also, though important, like we need both, don't we? Like we need to be able to live for a cause that's greater than ourselves that may not even be fulfilled in our lifetime, right? Like if we're just trying to work for things that were going to satisfy us now, or they're going to be achieved in our lifetime, we're probably not thinking large enough.
Yeah.
And so to me, like, I have this dream that one day Christians will be Christian pluralists.
Yeah.
They will believe that Jesus shows us God's love, not God's limits, and that there are actually the path of life is joined by many different faiths, and that's not going to be achieved in my lifetime. And that causes me anger, but it also says, okay, Eric, you don't have to accomplish that on your own. So you don't have to be so busy accomplishing that. Like, give it yourself some space.
Yeah.
But just keep plodding away. That gives me hope.
Yeah.
You know, that if I just do my little thing, that
Yes.
eventually that may come about.
Yeah, that's beautiful. Wow. Well, what I'm taking away from this has actually been brewing for me for a while, which is, where is my Shabbat right now? Is it when I'm sitting on the cushion? Yeah. But actually, maybe I want to do it with my husband. It's not just something that's about of silence for this body, heart, and mind, but actually maybe it's taking Saturdays off. Imagine.
Yeah. Well, you're reminding me too. One of my takeaways from this is just a reminder of that, the blessedness of regular meditation, whether you fall asleep or not.
Yeah.
I mean, meditation is in a sense a daily Sabbath we take.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's exactly.
I'm retaking with me this idea of non-striving for perfection.
Mm-hmm.
And if I could reiterate one other thing, which is take a Sabbath as that makes sense to you.
Yeah.
You are the foremost authority on your own spiritual religious lives. Don't take a Sabbath the way that you were taught to or the way you see other people doing it. I mean, be influenced and learn, but the Sabbath is what rests your soul.
Yeah. That's beautiful.
And idea of non-urgency,
Yes.
that works for me.
Yes.
I love that. All right. Hey, great spending time
You too.
with you and
Thank you so
reminding
much.
us all of what matters.
Take care.